step, and then This is Kung Fu Golf Chamber 8, called Counter Forces and Trailing Forces. As it is with all of Kung Fu Golf, you may not move on to the next chamber until this one is completely understood and mastered. Now this is more of an understanding chamber, not actually getting the body in a perfect position. You need to understand what you need to do. So it's much more about learning here than it is about actual physical movements like we have in later chambers. Also, our goal in Kung Fu Golf is to show people that what they think is complicated is actually quite simple if it's broken down into its component parts. So briefly, all of our videos, by the way, are very brief and to the point. You need to understand this to play good golf. Absolutely you need to understand it, and I would say 95% of all amateurs do not understand these principles. So let's talk about the first. Golf is a series of counter forces, which means it is not all force moving in the same direction at the same time. For example, when you transfer your weight to the front foot to swing, most amateurs are swinging at the same time they're transferring their weight. It's like a waltz. Da, 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 da. No, counter force means as the club is going back, the weight is actually starting to lean in. Club back, weight in. And the same thing happens as you swing through. As you swing through, the club is going through, but the weight is actually going back and up to a degree, which is the front foot straightening up with all the weight on the front foot and pushing back as the club is going through. So understand counter forces. Basically, when the club goes this way, the body should go this way. Just understand that for now. And when the club is coming through, to a degree, the body is going back. Opposites, not together. Okay, that is extremely important to understand as we move forward. And what that does is it winds up a spring and it creates a lot of power. There is no power in things moving in the same direction at the same time. A whip is a counter force with a snap back. That is the power. Trailing force basically means, it's very similar in concept, but more specific to golf. Trailing force, again, means things are not all moving at the same time. Trailing force means in order to get the maximum force, things need to happen first. The weight shift needs to happen, the turn of the belt buckle towards the hole, the rotation of the hips and chest, and it's a trailing force, meaning your arms have not yet started to swing. Force is generated by moving the weight forward, turning the hips, and having the arms lag way behind in the process, like a wet noodle. There is no swing down. The club is a trailing force, like a whip is a trailing force, that trails everything else and comes through late and last. Think of your swing, the Kung Fu Golf analogy, think of trying to swing the club a year later than your body movement towards the hole and your weight shift. Well, ridiculous, of course, but something to remember. The swing is late and it's absolutely last. Only at the last moment does everything come through. That's the trailing force concept. Understand both, practice the drills, and we can move on to the next chamber.